What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be ranking all main Arrowverse first hero episode appearances. That's a complicated title. Well, anyway, this video took kind of long to make, so I would really appreciate it if you liked it and went down in the description and followed all their socials. They'll always be in the description. The description will have some weird telling about what the episode is about. Not episode, video. But shouldn't every description have that? Now this is a list of 23, and it's pretty long, so if you don't want to stick around, bye. But if you do, thank you, and let's get into it. I have always not liked this episode. I thought it was such a stupid premise. A dude gets shot by a silent gun, which, sure, it works, but I don't think it works. There should have been a different episode to introduce the Green Hornet. I think the Green Hornet is a good character. I just don't like what they did in this episode. I just really dislike this episode. I also don't like this episode. I know why exactly. I think we should have spent more time with Alec in the season through flashbacks. Maybe see him before he becomes Swamp Thing instead of just the pilot episode. See him and Jason Woodrue become enemies while they're human, and then the flashbacks lead into the main story where they're the Floronic Man and Swamp Thing. That would have made for a good season.
He was the city's Cape Crusader. A generation later, their legacy lives on in the daughter they left behind. Why don't you carry any weapons?
I am the weapon.
The instinct of a killer, the conscience of a hero. The WB presents Birds of Prey.
I also really hate this episode. Wow. I hate how in the end, when they're in the dream sequence of it, whatever, Barbara has the Batgirl costume, which is just the Batman and Robin Batgirl costume, but just repainted. And then I hate how in that scene, they're trying to be all of Sin City and have the yellow parts of Batgirl's costume light up yellow in the black and white.
Woman, what do you think is so bad about girl? I'm a girl, and you're boss, and powerful, and rich, and hot, and smart. So if you perceive Supergirl as anything less than excellent, isn't the real problem you?
Kara? I'm going to tell you something about me that for most of my life, I've run from it.
This episode's okay. Obviously, it introduces Supergirl. I think it's one of the weakest pilots out of the Arrowverse besides Batwoman. I think it's a good pilot. I like what she did with the plane in the beginning. I like how we didn't see Superman. I thought that was pretty interesting. I liked how we didn't see Superman, actually. And then they brought in Tyler Hoechlin for the second season. This is an okay pilot.
And when it does, you'll want to be there. The Flash catch the...
This is a good episode. The only reason why it's this low on the list is because, one, it's crappy. And 2, it's way too long. They could have made this. It's an hour and 30-minute long episode. That is long enough to be a theatrically released animated movie. This could have been released in theaters. This movie. And then the TV show would be based off the movie. You might be thinking, Batman the Animated Series? What? I didn't know it was part of the Arrowverse. Well, Batman the Brave and the Bold, Night of the Batman, Adam West appears, animated form, Arrowverse connection. Okay. This episode, it's a good pilot episode, it's just not my favorite. Yeah, I was a little disappointed. Everybody hyped this episode up from everything I've seen about Batman the Animated Series. On the Rings, when really it's just like, oh. This episode is only on here for nostalgia at the spot, because this was my Batman TV show besides the Batman. This was my Batman TV show. I have so much nostalgia for this episode. And it still really holds up as an animated episode. Compared to the live action episodes, it doesn't hold up that well compared to them. But this episode, good pilot.
Everyone has a part to play.
Who wants to be Batman?
Bruce? Nice glasses. Thanks. Crisis on Infinite Earths.
This is easily the weakest episode of Crisis. Honestly, man. But I do love Superman, so that gives it a point up. Smallville Superman's in this episode, so that is amazing, because we all love Tom Welling. And then we got Brandon Routh Superman, who, if Henry Cavill is out, I know there's rumors of him signing a new contract. If Henry Cavill is out, get Brandon Routh to play Superman. He is amazing. Amazing.
Communication with the craft. They fear something catastrophic may have occurred.
I've dreamt of this moment. Two of us teaming up.
I pray
We can only hope wherever he is,
she's watching this.
he's seeing this.
Yes, this is the season 2 premiere. This is not a all-season premiere episode, which I would not be opposed to, but it would be like 40 minutes long. But the Superman is getting his own TV show, Superman Lois. This is the episode that Tyler Hoechlin first appeared in as Superman. That's why I'm not going to count the pilot for Arrow as White Canary's first appearance, Sarah Lance. But this episode was a good season premiere.
What the? I'm a monster. I can't feel pain. Seriously?
Are you a toy?
Are you a raving douche?
Yes, Doom Patrol is a genius show, but the pilot is from the first 6 episodes, and the first 6 episodes aren't as amazing as the rest of the show. Yes, Doom Patrol, the characters are amazing, but we just got an introduction to Cliff, who I personally think is the main character. But this episode just wasn't really good as the rest of the season. That's why it's not like farther up. It's the pilot, they have to introduce all the characters. So
Pancakes are perfect this time. Babe, are you okay? What's wrong? I love you. Marianne.
What?
this episode is also a crossover episode. It's a good crossover episode, while it is one. This is also the episode that Ruby Rose's Batwoman debuted in. I know she's not like the main character anymore, but she was for a season. So when Javica's Leslie's Batwoman, we see her first episode. I'll probably update this list to include that.
The city is dying, and it needs someone to stand up and breathe new hope into it. That person is not Oliver Queen.
I don't know what to do.
You don't have to do it yourself.
just happened. The city still needs saving.
It needs a hero.
I don't think you wear that hood because you're...
This episode it's not as good as the rest of the season. It's just like Doom Patrol. But this episode still is good because we got the flashbacks. I think the flashbacks in this season, and this episode in particular, bring it up better than the main story. On the back half of this season, the main story was amazing. But in the beginning, up to episode 8, the flashbacks kind of carried the season. The Batman show is it's better than you think it is. I'm not going to say it's way better than you think it is because it has too many episodes per season, especially in season 2. But the pilot for this was the most expensive pilot ever made by 1966. I think that says something. And that costume for the Riddler, I like the costume, but it's a good episode.
Or we will all go down in pieces.
This is about me trying to keep my daughters alive.
I told you to get out my face.
Jeff, where are you going?
To get our girls.
Black Lightning was not a good show up until season 3. I'm excited for season 4. This is easily the best episode of the season, the first season. I love the motel scene, and I love this episode. It's a great episode. But many episodes in season 3 have surpassed it.
The two-night crossover event is about to heat up.
Tune out, you miss out.
So these are the heroes.
Access to Flash.
That is a fantastic outfit.
Ready?
You've got Supergirl on Arrow.
Aim!
Hero everywhere.
The battle continues tomorrow at 8/7.
In this episode, the Ray first debuted, and he got his own CW Siege show. Sadly, one of the worst things. The second season is worse than Arrow season 4. I don't know why I watched it. Oh my gosh. But Stein dies in this episode. This episode was so good. They invade Earth X. This episode was just really, really good. Really good. Stein.
Is this what all the crossovers are like?
This episode is bad and good at the same time. The bad part is the anti-monitor. If you've seen the episode, that's all I have to say. Oliver didn't kill the anti-monitor in his sacrifice. And plus the anti-monitor is apparently stronger now. But the shadow demons are weaker because people punched them when they tried to kill. The shadow demons killed Oliver in the first episode. While people are just punching and shooting them in this.
Any witnesses? Lucifer Morningstar. Is that a stage name?
God-given, I'm afraid.
Why don't you tell me something? How does she end up dying in a hailstorm of bullets and you get away without a scratch?
The benefits of immortality. What were your corrupt little organization?
This episode is an example of an almost perfect pilot. I didn't expect the show to be so good because at the point when I watched it, I hadn't seen the show. Now, I want you to look at Tom Ellis right here. And after watching season 5, like if you did as a good DC fan, if you binged it all the way through, like I did. I know it's part 1, but look how young Tom Ellis looks in this. This was a great episode, especially with this Trixie scene.
He hasn't been seen for over a year.
What was that?
Disappeared, they said.
They thought he might be dead.
Why come here? Why Detroit?
The weather? Where's Batman? Hey, little birdie's alone.
I love this episode, mostly because of the alley fight scene and how brutal it is. I hate and love the part where the dude gets in the car and he gets his face smashed into the glass, and you can hear the glass rip his chin and scream in blood. Oh my gosh, this episode was horrible and great at the same time.
Chief, my name is John Constantine. I'll drive your demons away. There are worlds beyond ours.
What happened?
Spirit took your body for a spin. You damned a girl to hell. Along with her, your soul.
I'm a nobody.
I hate to burst your bubble up, but you're not a nobody.
I don't know why the show was canceled. I know it was because of views, but this show was so good. I was amazed when I watched this episode. Amazed, because I didn't expect the show to be good. I thought it would just be crap because it was canceled. But this show was amazing. So was this episode. This episode was amazing. It's not even in the whole plot. The map from this episode is only in the plot. This episode is like a one-off. This episode was genius. We didn't have Superman in the episode, even though it's Superman the animated series. We followed Jor-El, and nobody believes him about the planet dying. So you see his, the person, I think it's Laura's dad, finally trusts Jor-El at the end, and then you see the planet explode, which is actually sad, and you never feel for Krypton exploding.
Back in the meteor shower, that's when it all began. The whole town went.
One town's tragedy becomes one man's journey.
My parents died when I was 3.
It's all my fault. We wanted to protect you. Protect me from what?
Sometimes people can surprise you.
Every story has a beginning. The series premiere of Smallville.
The first time I watched this episode, I was blown away. I knew Smallville had 10 seasons, so I was like, it could just be a crappy teen drama like Riverdale, and then, like, I watched this episode, and it was great, and all the actors, all the acting was great. Of course, David Nutter directed this, and he does all the great pilots. The top 3 pilots in this list, he directed. Just wow.
Oliver Queen is alive.
You came back from the dead. This calls for something so epic.
He was wearing a hood. A green hood.
We'll put out an APB on Robin Hood.
This episode is equally good, just it's better. This episode, we open up on the flashback on the not the flashback, the present day on the island. Wow. Ever season 5, wow. And they go back to that in Lian the season 5 finale, and in the beginning of this episode, it seems like he's been there all 5 years on the island, which we know he hasn't. But the first.
He is extremely dangerous. We can't save him.
I know someone who can.
Barry, Allen, crime scene investigation unit.
Arrow, the two-part mid-season finale, begins Wednesday.
Obviously, this episode was the first appearance of Grant Gustin as Barry Allen. And in the next episode, we find out, well, we don't find out, we see him getting struck by the lightning from the particle accelerator. And did you know that person on the news was Linda Park? But this episode was really good. It's Arrow Season 8, Episode 8, really good. But, like, man. I hope you guys like this video. It took a long time. But, why don't you go like the video? That will make my time worth it, because I know you guys enjoy this stuff, and I enjoy making it. Now, if you want to see, like, season premieres, that's going to be like a 40-minute episode, but I'm not opposed to it, and go follow all my socials down in the description.